You'll go to a seminar or conference, and it seems as though you get just enough information to make yourself dangerous. And then it's all about a pitch for coaching or whatever. And I'm not of that philosophy. I'm of the philosophy is I give you all I've got, the very best information I've got without holding anything back, because quite frankly, that comes down to another attribute of a successful real estate investor. And that is an abundant mindset. There's plenty to go around. I'm not worried about missing out. So the abundant mindset that will lend itself to your success. So what do some people not agree with me? Some of my other educator friends would say, Jay, you're telling them too much. You're teaching them too much. You're giving them too much. I say, that's your opinion. Let me worry about giving my people too much.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Private money has had more of an impact than anything else we've done in our real estate business, and it allowed us to scale beyond belief.
Welcome to the Mastering Real Estate Podcast. This podcast is for real estate investors and professionals looking to take their real estate game to the next level. Each week, I review the industry's leading real estate books and break down the main lessons that you can apply to your life and business. Then, every other week, I review my own personal lessons learned from flipping over 100 houses and being a full-time real estate investor since 2018. Stay tuned each week so that we can all become masters of real estate together. Welcome back to the Mastering Real Estate Podcast. This is episode 25, and today we are talking to Jay Conner about raising private money. If you've ever wondered where and how to raise money for your real estate deals, you have to listen to this episode. Jay gives us the ins and outs of how and why to raise private money, and this episode is a literal gold mine of great information. I'm your host, Maura McGraw. I've been a full-time real estate investor since 2018. I've managed over 100 flips, founded and grew a real estate investment firm, and I am now a licensed real estate agent in Alabama. And I live and work in the real estate industry every day. Before we jump into the interview, let's learn a little bit about Jay. Jay Conner began investing in real estate in 2003, initially relying on traditional bank financing, which required large down payments, fees, and personal guarantees. After the 2008 market crash, his banker cut him off, forcing Jay to explore creative financing methods like subject to and lease options. During this challenging period, Jay discovered private money lending and developed a system to attract private funds for his deals. He refined this system over several years, securing $250,000 from his first private lender and raising over $2 million within months. Jay's innovative financing strategy has transformed his business, consistently generates seven-figure profits annually, and with efficiency and automation he's incorporated, he now works less than 10 hours a week, enjoying both financial success and personal freedom. Okay, Jay Conner, welcome to the Mastering Real Estate Podcast. I am so happy to have you here today.
Maura, thank you so much for inviting me to come along. I'm so excited to be here to talk about my favorite subject that I'm so passionate about. And of course, that's private money. Why am I so excited about it? Because private money has had more of an impact than anything else we've done in our real estate business, and it allowed us to scale beyond belief.
I am so excited to hear all about this. I've used private money a little bit, but not nearly to the extent that you have. But before we hear all about private money, I want to know a little bit about you, about your background, where you grew up, how you got into real estate, and how you found yourself focusing on private money.
Sure. I was raised here in eastern North Carolina in a very small market. Morehead City, North Carolina's only got 8,000 people. My total target market here in 2 counties has only got 40,000 people. So we're right here on the beach near Atlantic Beach. Over there on the island is a resort area that we live in. How did I get into this? I grew up here, and I actually grew up in a family of people that helped other people get and own affordable housing. My father, Wallace Connor, who's actually 91 and a half, he'll make sure the half. He's 91 and a half years old right now, and he's still wheeling and dealing. He's doing a development right now he's building 350 houses in a development near where we live. But anyway, for at one time, his company was the largest manufactured housing or mobile home company, if you will, in the nation.
Oh my gosh.
And so his company actually helped over 100,000 families own homes over the course of that career. So I grew up in that environment, in that business. In the early 2000s, Maura, the mobile home industry, fell out of favor with Wall Street. So pretty much the consumer financing for that product went away. And so today there's hardly any mobile home dealers or manufactured housing dealers. And in 2003, we wrapped up and closed that company. I knew if I ever got out of mobile homes and manufactured housing, I knew I wanted to get into single family houses. And that was because for years I'd sell a single wide mobile home and I'd try to make $3,000 profit on that. But we had good friends in the early 90s that flipped a house and made $30,000 in less than 90 days. I said, I like 30,000 better than 3,000. So I'd already decided if I got out of mobile homes, I was going to get into single family houses. So we started in 2003. From 2003 until January of 2009, we use traditional funding for our deals. Conventional, what does that mean? That means you go to the bank, get on your hands and knees and put your hands underneath your chin and you raise up your skirt so they can see your personal assets and your financial statement and see what you got and decide if they want to loan you money. So that's what I did the first 6 years, 2003 to 2009. And things changed abruptly for me in January of 2009. And since that time, we haven't used any traditional funding. I'll tell you that story in a moment. But fast forward, as of today, we've rehabbed and renovated over 500 single family homes here in the local area. And we also work with other real estate investors on raising private money and that kind of thing. But anyway, that's how we got started.
Amazing. I'm very similar to you. My father was in it. That's how I learned about it. But that's an incredible story. And I'm interested to hear in a second here how the financial crisis really shaped your journey. Let's tell the audience a little bit about some of the things you have going on, because you have a lot of stuff going on. You have your Private Money Academy, you have your podcast, you've written a book. Could you just tell us a little bit about, we've learned where you came from. Let's hear a little bit about what you have going on today.
Sure. Friends and colleagues of mine and my wife, Carol Joy, was just encouraged me for years and years to get your book out, get your book written. So I finally finished it. The name of it is Where to Get the Money Now. Where to Get the Money Now. Actually, this is what it looks like. But anyway, the subtitle, and this, by the way, this is not an ebook. This is an actual book. Believe it or not, the United States Postal Service is still in business. I'll give this to your audience for free, just cover shipping. The subtitle is How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals without relying on traditional or hard money lenders. My world of private money is not hard money. We're not talking with brokers. But anyway, yeah, this lays out exactly step by step how I was able to raise $2,150,000 in private money without ever asking anybody for money. We'll talk about how I do that. But so I've got my book. They can pick it up for free at J. Connor. I'm an ER, by the way, not an OR. Most of us Connors are ORs, but JAYCONER.com/book. I'm glad to autograph it and send that out. And then a couple of years ago, we started our monthly membership. We have hundreds and hundreds of Private Money Academy members, I go live on Zoom twice a month with the membership, talking about how we raise private money. But I tell you the thing I'm most excited about, Maura, I just released this. I just released and launched the Private Money Challenge. So that is a 7-day challenge where I come on 15 to 20 minutes a day, 7 days in a row. So it's very digestible, consumable information, actionable items on how to attract private money without ever asking for it. And so I invite your audience to join me at www.privatemoneychallenge.com. And we really dive deep into it there. That's some of the stuff that I've got going on.
That is so cool. I know my audience will love that. And I love it. A 7-day challenge, that's very like manageable. Sometimes real estate finance can feel very overwhelming to people, especially at first. So making it accessible and easy is a really important hurdle for most people to get over when they first get into real estate. So I don't want you to have to give away all your secrets. I know that we're going to link everything below. People will get your book, but if you could just tell us a little bit about your process and how you raise private money, how you use it, what's just a little bit that people can learn about, and then maybe they can go farther.
So first of all, here's what's really different in this world about getting funding for your real estate deals. The traditional way to borrow money is you go to the bank like I did for the first 6 years and you apply. You provide financial statements. They pull your credit. The bottom line is they make the rules. The lender makes the rules. But here in this world of private money, guess what? We make the rules. That's one of the biggest challenges for new people to get their mind wrapped around. We're not asking for a mortgage. We're not applying for a mortgage. We are offering a mortgage. So how is it that I've got 47 private lenders, $8.5 million of private money that we use from project to project, and I've never asked for money? Here's the secret right here, Maura. I put on my private money teacher hat, which says private money teacher, and I simply teach. I lead through education what private money is. And when I first started raising private money back in 2009, I raised the money only through my own network of connections. Here's what's interesting. All 47 of our private lenders never heard of private money. They never heard of self-directed IRAs and how they can use their retirement funds to loan out and get returns either tax deferred or tax free. They didn't know any of that stuff until what did I do? I put on my teacher hat and started teaching, right, what it is all about. Now, desperation has got a smell to it, okay? Desperation's got a smell to it. And what I mean by that is if you, as a real estate investor, are talking with someone that you got a connection with, you go to church with them, you play golf with them, your kids are in soccer, your kids are in baseball, your kids are in football, wherever you see people consistently week in and week out, that's one first question you want to ask yourself. Where do I see the same people all the time? Because those are people you got connections with. Here's what's interesting. Not one of my 47 private lenders ever heard of self-directed IRAs. They never heard of private money or private lending until I told them about it. Now, here's what I mean by desperation has a smell to it. If you're talking about private money and your program, I say just duplicate mine. It's in the book. I teach it in the Private Money Challenge. Just duplicate my program. But what's the interest rate you're going to pay? 8%. I've been paying 8% since 2009. I don't care what the interest rate market's doing. We make the rules. That's what I pay. So we pay 8%. We set the length of the note, the frequency of payments. We set all that. And so we teach it. And then they tell us how much they've got to invest. Here's part of the secret sauce. We separate, this is critically important. We separate the conversation between teaching the program to a potential private lender, them telling us how much they have to invest, and then having a deal for them to fund. What's interesting, I never pitched a deal in my life. I did when I was borrowing money from the banks. I pitched deals all the time. But in this world of private money, I've never pitched a deal. And people say, Jay, how do you get people to fund your deals and you never pitch the deal and you never ask them to fund the deal? It's real simple. I'm going to give you the script right now. If I've got a new private lender and they've moved their retirement funds over to a self-directed IRA company at my recommendation, they're not making any money until I put their money to work. So you see, when they tell me they've got X amount of dollars, say I'm talking to somebody and they got $150,000, and let's say it's retirement funds and they want to get a nice high rate of return, they'll move that $150,000 to the self-directed IRA company that I recommend. And I'll say, I'm going to put your money to work pretty soon. Expect a phone call from me in about a couple of weeks. So here's the script. I call them up with what I call the good news phone call. And so I call them up, and let's say Maura is one of my private lenders. And let's say Maura has said she's got $150,000 to invest. Here's the script on the good news phone call. I call up Maura. I say, Maura, I got great news. I can now put your money to work. I've got a house under contract in Newport with an after repaired value of $200,000. Now, the funding required for the deal is $150,000. Closing is next Friday, so you'll need to have your funds wired to my real estate attorney's trust account by next Thursday. I'm going to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. End of conversation. The most stupid question I would have asked Maura is, do you want to fund the deal? Of course she wants to fund the deal. She's been sitting by the telephone waiting for the phone call for me to put her money to work. So that's why it's critically important to separate those conversations.
That is brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you.
I love it.
Let me tell you how brilliant that is. I had to screw it up really good when I started out to get it right.
As we all do.
So yes, by trial and error, I figured out this is the way to do this. And by the way, Maura, I'm getting ready to say something. And I know you've heard it more than 100 times, and it drives me stupid crazy. And here's what drives me crazy. Now, if you don't agree with this, I'm going to ask for forgiveness right now. But here's what drives me crazy. The gurus that go around telling new real estate investors, quote unquote, oh, just get the deal under contract. The money will show up.
Oh, yes.
I want to throw up. Like, where is the money going to show up? They say it all that, say, oh, if the deal's good enough, the money will show up. Okay, the deal's good enough. Where is the money? For goodness sakes, is it going to like rain out of clouds or something? I just don't want to stress out on not knowing where funding's going to come from when I'm making an offer.
Absolutely.
Seems like common sense to me.
I know. That's so brilliant. And it's also so much easier for the investor.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was a guest on a podcast not long ago, Maura, and the host and I were having this conversation. I said, I wish I knew why those people are going around the country saying, just get the deal under contract, the money will show up. He says, Jay, I can tell you why they're doing that. I said, why? Please tell me. He says, because they're selling a course on how to get deals under contract. And they're not teaching you how to get the money. Just get the deal under contract and the money will show up. Make me throw up.
Very true. That was definitely true for me when I first started. That's what my first coach told me. And he was right in the sense that once I got the deal under contract, I really had a fire lit under my butt to figure out the money situation. And I luckily did. And that was my first foray into private money. But believe me, it was stressful.
Was it stressful?
It was very stressful.
My word. Shoot.
Yes.
And how many more offers would you have made if you had another few $100,000
Probably
waiting?
several more. Probably several more. So this is absolutely genius. Okay, I am curious. At this point, you've probably worked with hundreds of real estate investors and helped them raise private money for their deals. What are some common traits that you've noticed among your successful students or successful real estate investors?
Absolutely. The first successful attribute that comes to mind is for them to be successful. Before they started trying to own real estate, they owned the real estate between their ears and they got their mind set right. Okay. So what do I mean by that? How do you get your mindset? First of all, successful real estate investors do not live in a world of blame, shame, and justification. Unfortunately, a lot of people are living in blame, shame, and justification and not taking responsibility for what happens in their life. I love Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, which he has 69 success principles in his book. The very first principle is take 100% responsibility for everything that happens in your life. And I love his formula. His formula for taking responsibility is E plus R equals O. What in the world does that stand for? The E stands for event. So there's an event that happened in your life. All right. So the event that I just referenced was I got cut off from the banks, no notice. That's what happened in January 2009 when I called up my banker and I'd lost my line of credit. And hey, look, no fault of my own. That's just what was going on in the world. And so that's when I put my program together and raised a couple of $1 million in 90 days and haven't missed out on a deal. So that was the event. The global financial crisis is going on. For goodness sakes, I didn't have anything to do with the global financial crisis. I didn't own Lehman Brothers and didn't have anything to do with that. Global financial crisis, that's the event. Now, I'm cut off from the banks. I have no way to fund my deals. Unfortunately, most people are walking around in a world of a different formula, which is E equals O. Event determines your outcome, and you can't do nothing about it because I'm a victim instead of a victor, right? So that's how a lot of the world operates. But a successful real estate investor realizes E plus R equals O. I am 100% responsible and I have the choice. Isn't that liberating? I have the choice as to how I want to respond to any event that has taken place. So when I was cut off from the banks, I could have put my tail between my legs and gone home and crawled up in a ball in a corner and cried and eaten Cheerios and milk with extra sugar. Or I could decide I want to respond to this event in a way that will make a different outcome in my life. So what did I do? I found out I was cut off from the banks. I sat here, I asked myself a question. Who do I know that can help me with my problem? And by the way, these people going around that saying every problem's an opportunity, I want to throw up. I didn't have an opportunity. I had a problem. I had deals under contract, no way to fund them. So I asked myself, who do I know that can help me with my problem? By the way, that question will help you fix any problem in your life, personal, financial, health, relationships, business, career, etc. So immediately I answered that question to myself. Jeff Blankenship, my good friend in Greensboro, North Carolina, was investing in real estate. I called him up. I told him what had happened. And he said, welcome to the club. The bank cut me off last week. I said, how are you going to fund your deals, Jeff? He says, have you heard of private money? I said, no. He says, have you heard of self-directed IRAs? And I said, no. So because of Jeff Blankenship and me asking the question, that's where the power is in questions. I called him up and asked for help. So I studied private money and that changed my course. So E plus R, I was cut off from the banks. My response was to find a better and quicker way to fund my deals. Therefore, that changed my outcome. Our business, Carol, Joy, and my business, tripled in the next 12 months from being cut off from the banks because now I have this better and quicker way to fund my deals. That's when all those foreclosures were going on. Banks weren't lending money. You had to have the cash to buy those foreclosures. So now I had the cash and I could just pick and choose which deals that I wanted to do. So back to new real estate investors. You want to get your mindset right. Resiliency. I'm telling you, if you don't have a strong back and a strong will, don't get in this business because Murphy lives every day in your world. Mm-hmm. And if something can go wrong, it's going to go wrong. And listen, we've rehabbed and renovated over 500 single family houses here in our local market. And I was a guest on a podcast earlier today, and the host says, Jay, I'm sure you've had 2 or 3 deals go sideways and didn't go the way you planned. Tell us the story about one of those. I said, are you kidding? I've never had a deal go as planned.
Like, it's so true.
I mean, does a renovation budget ever come in on budget? No, it never comes in on budget. So how do you mitigate the risk? You mitigate the risk not by getting your repairs exactly right. You mitigate the risk in your offer. In your offer. Like when I make my offers, I always account for or budget an extra, depending on the project, $10,000 to $20,000 of the unexpected that might show up. So, successful real estate investors, resilient mindset. We live in a world of abundance. We do not live in a world of scarcity, but you do if you choose to. Be 100% responsible for everything that happens, and surround yourself with other like-minded people that are successful to help encourage you along the way.
So true. It's so refreshing because so many real estate gurus out there, they always talk about how easy this is, how anybody can do it. And it's not the case. Something is always going wrong. And probably after doing 500 flips, you know how it is. You could probably count on your fingers and toes how many have gone completely smoothly. It's really not common. So you have to be able to deal with Murphy on a daily basis.
And sometimes Murphy's cousins, Murphy's aunts and uncles. We're renovating a house in Havelock right now at 123 Paradise Circle. Let me assure you, when we started this renovation, it was not paradise. It just happened to be on Paradise Circle. But anyway, we had some foundation issues that we were not anticipating, to the tune of $14,000, not anticipating. In addition to that, the room on the back side of the house, we did not know was an unpermitted add-on room by some former owner. But of course, that's just part of the game. That's part of the business. And you mitigate that by making your offer discounted enough so you can anticipate those unexpected renovations that always come along.
So good. So you have been in business for a long time now. You've been through the recession, the pandemic. You've succeeded through all of it. And you've also started several different business ventures. You're not just in real estate or private money. You've written a book. You have a coaching program. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you balance all those things and what has helped you be successful in so many different arenas and through some really trying times, actually?
Yeah, thank you for that question. When Carol Joy and I started out in 2003, we thought we had to do everything ourselves because, after all, nobody can do it better than you can. And after we've been in this business for about a year, we were at Lowe's Home Improvement at 8:45 on a Saturday night, buying materials, picking out knickknacks for staging. And I looked at Carol Joy. I said, what in the world are we doing at Lowe's Home Improvement at 8:45 on a Saturday night? Did we not get into this business for some freedom? Did we not get into this business for some wealth? You can be making over $1 million a year and have zero freedom, right?
Yes.
So the question is, how do you want to create your life? I'll never forget one night, we'd been in it a couple of years. I came into the kitchen about 10 o'clock one evening, and my Carol Joy was sitting there at the kitchen table, and she was crying, stressed out. She looked at me, she says, I can't take it anymore. And right there, I promised myself, Maura, I would never be putting my Carol Joy in that position to where she's stressed out. So I set out on a mission to automate this business. What's the definition of automation? The bottom line definition of automation is get out of your own way and dictate, delegate, and disappear and follow up to make sure things are happening. So I started putting my team together. I started building my systems. I ran this business entirely too long on Post-it notes everywhere. I was the most disorganized mess on the planet, running around with my hair on fire, and that's why it's as thin as it is today. And so first of all, get the software in place. What kind of CRM, contact retention management, what kind of software are you going to use to put all of your seller leads? Because we ain't buying anything in the multiple listing service. It's all for sale by owners off market. Where are you going to keep up with all those seller leads? Where are you going to keep up with your buyer leads if you're selling creatively on rent to own? So getting the systems in place, getting my team in place made all the difference. So I set out on a quest. It took me an entire year to automate the business to where we got the systems in place. In fact, these systems that I teach actually at our live event 3 times a year called the Private Money Conference. I teach these systems. And so now today we are running the business instead of the business running us, to where I actually work in the business, oversee the business less than 10 hours per week. And how can I do that? Because I got the team in place. I've got an acquisitionist that talks to all the sellers. I haven't talked to a seller in years and years. My acquisitionist talks to the sellers. I've got a project manager that oversees the projects. Now, you're not going to start out like this by all means. I didn't start out like that. I started out in 2003 doing one house at a time and finished that one until I'm ready to move to the next one. So my first year, I only did 3 houses because I wanted to, learn some lessons along the way. And so then I started scaling my business. So that's how we evolved from having our hands in everything to stepping back to where you can really run the business. The most valuable way you can spend your time is working on your business instead of working in your business. I had an attendee at one of our live events a while back. I was talking about rehabbing, and they raised their hand. They said, Jay, I just want to let you know, I do all my own rehabs. I do all my own renovations. I do all my rehabs. I said, why do you do that? He says, because rehabbing my houses is like therapy to me. I said, son, anybody that rehabs their own houses needs therapy.
So funny. That's so true. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. That is so great. Can you tell us, I love what you've done. You are living the dream. And do you have any favorite tools right now that you are using in your business that don't need to tell us all the automation, but any of your favorite tools in your toolbox right now that have helped you to grow and scale and automate your business?
I mentioned it. My favorite, I've used other contact management programs, but I have a lady that turned me on to this program that she developed, and it's called reisoftware.com, reisoftware.com.
Cool.
And it's a little boutique company. She developed the software. Hardly anybody knows about it. I never mention it unless somebody asks, and you just did. But her name is Maura Harmon. She's a Christian, wonderful lady. And so I love the software. It keeps up with everything. And so if you're interested in checking it out, you can go to reisoftware.com. Just tell Marla that Jay Connor sent you, and she'll probably give you a waive the sign-up fee or whatever. But anyway, that software, our acquisitionist has been with us for 18 years. Her name is Kim. Because of the software and all the communication that we do in the software, Kim and I might say hello to each other once every 3 months.
Wow.
It's all communicating right in the software. We have the pipeline, all of our leads that come in either through Google ads or Facebook ads or outbound calling or direct mail postcards, all the different ways that we market. When a lead comes in, it automatically goes into the software without anybody manually having to put it in. And then it goes to the pipeline at different stages. And when it gets to a stage that I'm supposed to make a decision, I'm notified that, hey, Jay, you need to make a decision on a property. And so that really, really streamlines our business.
That sounds amazing. Okay. Can you tell me something that you believe or think that no one agrees with you about?
One of them we just said, and that was, I practice and preach the money comes first, right? Get the money lined up first, and then there's always going to be plenty of deals. But yes, there's something that I do that's very different from a lot of other educators and trainers and speakers in the real estate investing space. And if you're listening to this episode and you've been to any kind of seminar or conference, what I'm getting ready to say, you will relate to. You'll go to a seminar or conference, and it seems as though you get just enough information to make yourself dangerous. And then it's all about a pitch for coaching or whatever. And I'm not of that philosophy. I'm of the philosophy is I give you all I've got, the very best information I've got, without holding anything back, because quite frankly, That comes down to another attribute of a successful real estate investor, and that is an abundant mindset. There's plenty to go around. I'm not worried about missing out. So the abundant mindset that will lend itself to your success. So what do some people not agree with me? Some of my other educator friends would say, Jay, you're telling them too much. You're teaching them too much. You're giving them too much. I say, that's your opinion. Let me worry about giving my people too much.
I love that. I love it. If someone wants to get started in raising private money for their real estate deals, how or where should they get started?
I'm going to answer that two different ways. Here's the first way, or the first thing I would say. The first thing to start doing is no, that is not the first thing. The first thing you want to do is learn what program you're going to offer to your potential private lenders. I'd say duplicate mine. It seems to work pretty well, but you need to decide. Remember, you make the rules, not the lender. You make the rules. So decide what's your program. What interest rate are you going to pay? What's the length of the notes? What's the frequency of payments? What's your maximum loan to value? And I do maximum loan to value of after repaired value. I borrow up to 75% of the after repaired value, not the purchase price. That's very different. So first of all, what are you going to teach? What are you going to offer to potential private lenders? The second thing that you would do is make your list of potential private lenders out of your contacts. So I say go to your cell phone, make a list first of people that are retired, because retired people, there's a good chance that they've got what?
Retirement
funds, right? And I promise you, if they've got retirement funds, there's a good chance they are not happy with the returns that they're getting on their retirement funds. Now, before you contact them and share your program with them, I would also establish a relationship with a self-directed IRA company that you can refer people that you meet that have retirement funds, so that when they do, you can introduce them to your rep at the self-directed IRA company that can help them move their funds over. What's the program you're going to teach? Just copy mine. Make the list of retirement people because they've got retirement funds. Have a relationship with a self-directed IRA company. And if you really want to get on the fast track, then just come on over and join me in the 7-day private money challenge, and I'll get you off to the fast start.
Perfect. That sounds perfect. Okay. What are your top 3 favorite resources, like your favorite books, podcasts? What things are you loving right now?
My top 3 favorite resources. The first one I'll share is the book that changed my life when I was 24 years old. Now, this is in addition to the Bible. Of course, the Bible is the win all, have all, life-changing book. But in addition to the Bible, 24 years old, I was in a very dark place. It was not a happy time, and I was rock bottom. And so I went to the bookstore, and I thought to myself, Jay, there's got to be a better way to live this life at 24 years old. I was making some very stupid decisions. And so I went to the self-help section in the bookstore, and I came across this book, and I bought it, and I devoured it, and it changed my life immediately. The name of the book, and it's still in print, is University of Success. University of Success. It's by Ogmandino. Changed my life. Second resource, I'm going to give you another book. And I was so honored to have the co-author, Bob Berg, on my podcast, and I interviewed him. So the name of the book is The Go-Giver. Maura, I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yes. Fantastic.
The Go-Giver. And they have more than one now, but I say get the original one in red, The Go-Giver. It's not thick at all. It's all about leading with a servant's heart and these different topics that we've been talking about. The other resource I would share is really a blanket statement. It's not just one resource, it's a philosophy. And that is establish relationships with the best team that you can. What do I mean by that? You're not in business unless you've got a great relationship with a realtor, unless you are a realtor yourself. I'm not, on purpose. I've been using the same realtor for 19 years, same realtor. We work together. His name is Chris. He pulls all of my comps, gives me my after repaired values on properties that we want to make an offer on. So your realtor is a very important part of your team. Secondly, establish a relationship with a real estate attorney. If you don't have a good relationship with a real estate attorney, you're not in business. And again, the worst time to be looking for an attorney is like the worst time to be looking for a private lender. And that's when you need one, right? So you want to establish these relationships first. If you're going to be doing any renovations, obviously you need a relationship with a home inspector to inspect your homes before you make offers. So again, the team, and if you're going to do any renovations, obviously you need a good relationship with one or two general contractors. So put the team in place before you need the team.
Great advice. Those are 3 great recommendations. Okay. Last question. Outside of work, what are you doing? What types of hobbies or interests do you have? What do you love to do when you're not doing your 10 hours of work inside the company?
Carol Joy, my wife, and I, we love writing music for Christians and for the church. We've been writing music together ever since 1996. And we've written a lot of songs, a lot of Christian hymns and spiritual songs. In fact, we just finished one early this morning about 7:15 that we had been working on. The name of that song is It Was Time. And
Wow.
I started recording piano music in 1997. Fluky, my piano music made it in the movies at Universal Studios. And
What?
so music and singing and gospel songs is a very important part of mine and Carol Joy's life. In fact, we met at church my very first Sunday in Texas when I moved out to Texas. We're very passionate about music.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have to send me your favorite song and I'll put it in the a little clip from it in the podcast.
Oh, I would love to.
That is
In
so
fact,
cool and unique.
sure, I appreciate that. Yeah, the most popular song is called I Close My Eyes. It's been recorded by quite a few groups, but I think I'll share with you the recording. I'll send you 2 recordings and you can choose which one. There's a quartet called Narrow Way. They did a beautiful job with I Close My Eyes. But then there's a chorale choir. And by the way, everything we do is a cappella, except when I'm playing the piano instrumental music. But there's a chorale called Concordia Sacre. They've just recorded it 2 years ago. Absolutely beautiful. I'll send you links. You can listen and see what you want to publish.
That sounds amazing. That'll be so cool. Okay. Tell us one last time where the audience can learn more about you and get a hold of you.
Really the best place, connect with me. You'll see me right here on video. And that is the Private Money Challenge. Come into my world at www.privatemoneychallenge.com. And I'll be seeing you right here on your telephone.
Awesome. Jay, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. I know that I learned a ton from you in just this small conversation, and I know that my audience will get so much value out of it. So thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the Mastering Real Estate podcast.
Maura, thank you so much for having me, and God bless you.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Jay for coming on the podcast. What a great interview. Jay mentioned in the interview that he composes music with his wife for fun. And I thought it was so cool that I wanted to insert a quick clip of one of his favorite songs that he's composed here. This one is called I Close My Eyes.
I close my eyes, I see His majesty. I close my eyes and feel His love for me.
Thank you so much for listening today. This podcast is made possible by Duratus Properties, or My Real Job. Duratus is a real estate investment firm in Alabama, and if you are a real estate professional located in or around the Birmingham, Mobile, or Baldwin County areas, we would love to connect and work with you. Despite the crazy interest rates these days, We are still always looking for properties to buy, and we want to expand our network of business partners. So feel free to send me an email at maura@duratusproperties.com or fill out any of the forms on our website, duratusproperties.com, so that we can connect. Right now, we are actively looking for more properties to flip and add to our rental portfolio, so keep us in mind. This concludes today's episode. Thanks so much for listening. Come back next week to learn about residential assisted living with the legendary Isabel Garino. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. We are a new and growing podcast, so every rating, review, and share helps immensely. Also, make sure that you're following us on YouTube and social media. You'll get a lot more behind the scenes and content there daily. See you in the next one.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.